Meet me again, Cindy Himawan in ERP subject, and today we are going to discuss about business process reengineering. So the business process reengineering is actually uh, when we do the analysis of the business process and then we need to map into the ERP system that we are going to use. I believe that previously you already learned about the information system analysis and design, whereby actually you already learned about how to modeling the business process. So the business process from the a word or from the explanation from the user, and then you need to model it into a flow chart or into a BPMN modeling or business process modeling notation. So actually by end of this topic, I hope that you know how to do the modeling for the business process, because this skill is become a main skill for us as an analyst before when we do the ERP consultation later. So if you want to become an ERP consultant, means you need to be able to model the business process first, because like what I explained in the previous topic, that if we wrong design the business process, then it might cause our ERP system also become a trouble. Okay, let's start. So we know that in a company we have what we call with the value chain, or a process to make a value to the customer, or what we call with the business process. So inside the business process of the company, there will be a primary activities, okay, which is consists of logistic, both of inbound logistic means the goods coming, the product coming into our enterprise, and then there will be the transform operation, or sometimes we call it the manufacturing, or what we call it the production. Basically it's when we do the inbound logistic means that we buy the raw material and the material comes into our enterprise, and then we transform it using the manufacturing process, become a finished goods, and then that finished goods will be distributed in the outbound logistics, and then we have the marketing and sales as well to promote or to advertise our product. And then in the service functional, we have the function of when the customer needs to have repairment, or when the customer complain about the product and so on, then it will be handled by the service functional area. So that will be the value chain for the primary activities, whereby actually for each value chain they will have each information system to support their activities. But in the last topic, when I say that before we use the ERP, for each functional area they will have their each or their own, or what we their own information system, or what we call with the silo information system, whereby we don't want that anymore, because in the ERP we want the whole information system across the functional organization will be integrated into one ERP system, as well as the support activities, such as the organization, the communication, and then the human resource, and then the technology and the purchasing and everything, all so both primary activities and support activities need to be integrated into one ERP system. So in order to do the business process analysis, to redefine the business process, there are three strategies. The first one is we call it the BPA, business process automation, and then business process improvement and business process reengineering. So let's talk about the business process automation. In the business process automation, we almost not changing anything in the business process. It means that let's say we have the business process, order is A, we do the A, activity A, and then we do the activity B, we do the activity C, and we do the activity D. We do it A, B, C, D in order A, B, C, D. So in the business process automation, actually we usually not changing the order of the process. So it might be still the same, A, B, C, D, but the difference is when in the old business process, the activity we done manually, or let's say we using the paper, or we use just like traditional way to communicate. But when we do the business process automation, it means that the process A will be done using a system, will be done using an application. So the example is like when previously in the old days, we don't have any application for the parking system, right? So there will be a staff, there will be a two staff in the gate in and in the gate out, right? The person in the gate in will manually put the hours when we go in, put the hours in a ticket using manually pen and paper, and then give that ticket to the customer. And then in the get out, the customer will give that ticket to the another person in the get out. Then the staff will calculate manually how long the customer inside in the parking lot, and then give the bill telling how much the customer need to pay, right? But now after we have the parking system, we don't need any more persons standing in the gate in. So what we do is when the customer coming into the parking lot, what customer needs to do is just press the button, and then the ticket will come out automatically. And the same process when he get out, when the customer get out, the customer needs to give the ticket to the person, and then the person will input the time in, and then the system will telling. So if previously the person in the get out need to calculate manually, but now the person just need to put the time in, and then the system will put all the calculation, how much the customer need to pay, and then the person will give the bill to the customer, and then the customer pays. So in terms of the process, actually there's no changes because it's still the same. Customer get in, get the ticket, but the differentiate is only previously the ticket is given by the staff, but now the ticket is issued by a machine, right? But in terms of the process is the same. It's changing. So that's why when we do the business process automation, usually it's only shorten the time, because it might be more faster, because previously calculated by human, and it might reduce the errorness also, because previously it's manually calculation, but now it's by system. So in terms of time becomes faster, in terms of accuracy it's become more accurate, but it's still the same. Basically the process is the same, and actually it's quite good, because for the user, they will not change, they will not really realize the change, because the process is quite the same. So in that case of the parking system automation, the customer is actually not really shocked with the changes, because basically it's just a matter of changing from a person become a machine, right? But there's not much changing. And now let's go to the business process improvement. When we talk about the business process improvement, it's mean that the business process is not only changed with the machine, but also there is changes in the way of the activity. So let's go back again with the my example about the parking system. So if previously in the get out, the customer need to give the ticket to the staff, and then the staff need to input something, and even though the system already can calculate how much the parking fee and everything, but still it might be take longer, because the customer still need to wait like how much, and then give the money, and then it might be need to give the change gitu ya, kembalian. So it might be still takes a long time, and the queuing might be long. So that's why there will be another business process improvement, whereby the customer doesn't need to give any more ticket to the staff. So it's mean now we replace both person in the get in and the get out. Okay, so there's no staff at all. So what the customer face now is only a machine. So when the customer get out, the customer will scan the ticket, and then the customer can pay using the e-payment. Okay, using the currently example, they pay with the e-toll or something. So it means that there's no more like calculation, there's no more like so how much I need to pay, and then how much the changes gitu ya, because sometimes kembaliannya nggak ada gitu, mesti cari tuker uang dan sebagainya gitu. So that's why it's we call it as a business process improvement, because the user will be changed, the way they pay will be so much different, and also it means that the customer needs to have an e-toll. So it means that if they don't have any e-toll, then they cannot go inside the parking lot. So it means that we need to tell them there is more changes. It's not only the automation, but there is a requirement that there is a behavior changes because of this improvement process. Example, like the customer needs to bring their e-toll. Okay, if they don't bring e-toll, then maybe they can pay with the, let's say, with the OVO. Okay, currently they can do that now. So it means that we need to educate the user, we need to educate the customer. If you still remember when the first time we used the e-toll payment for our for our target. Okay, you still remember that in the first few weeks, even few months, the customer is not getting used with the new improvement, right? So sometimes they forget to bring the etol, or sometimes they forget to top up the etol, or sometimes they just mix up and everything. So another challenge is for, even though the business improvement will bring a good things, will usually the business improvement will make the time become shorter compared to business automation, but still you need to make more effort compared to the business automation. Okay, and because there will be more changes in the business process, usually the decision needs to come not only from the business analyst or the system analyst, but the business changes need to come from the stakeholder. So we need to talk with the stakeholder, we need to talk with the owner, we need to talk with the staff, with the customer. Maybe we need to talk what is their consideration, because when we talk about the business process improvement, it means there are a lot of changes, not only just automating the system, but also the way we do the activities. Okay, and now we have what we call with the business process reengineering. So usually when we do the ERP implementation, or when we decide to use the ERP system, we say that the company needs to do the business process engineering. So it means that if previously the process is A, B, C, D, it's possible that the whole process might be thrown away, might be changed, everything. So the process is not anymore A, B, C, D, but could be B, C, F, or could be D, C, A, or whatever, according to what ERP system business process already defined, or what we call with the best practice of the ERP system. In the previous topic, I already explained that, when I give you the analogy, if you want to buy the clothes from the mall, it's mean that you have to change your body, your so-called body, to be able fit in that clothes. So that's the same things when we want to use the ERP system that already custom. Then it's mean that we need to fit our enterprise business process to be fit in the ERP system business process. So that's what we call with the business process reengineering, because it might need a fundamental rethinking. So everything might be changes, it might be radical, it might be start with the blank page, and it's a good thing. Of course the result might be more efficient, more effective, comparing with the business process automation and with the business process improvement, but it might be very expensive and risky, because the effort to do when we do the business process engineering is bigger. Okay, it means that we need to changing the whole business process. We might let you example, like imagine that usually the people already used to use a paper, and now they need not only using Excel, but they need to use the application. Just example, like usually we only talking using the book. Okay, we record by using a book, pen and book, and now let's say they need use application. It means that we need to train the user, we need to make them to be used to with the new system, and it's not easy, even though of course the result of course will be better rather than just doing the business process automation and using the business process improvement. Okay. In this picture we could see there is a difference before and after when we use the ERP. So in terms of the information system, it become the integrated system. If previously standalone or we call as a silo, and now become the integrated. And the integrated system will cause the coordination is easier across the business function, and by mean of integrated system is also meaning the data also integrated. And when we also talk about the integrated system, it's mean that the maintenance is easier to be done because we only need to maintain one system instead of we maintain many systems. Just imagine that if we have many cars in the system, in our garage, sorry, if let's say we have many cars in our garage, it means that we need to, for each month we need to maintain many cars. But now if we only have one car, it means that we only need to do one maintain one car, but it will be applied for the whole company, for the whole organization. And then in terms of the interface or the display and everything will be the same. It might be easier for the user also. It means that, and you just imagine that if let's say we have many cars again in our garage, it means that we have to make use when we use a bicycle, when we use a car, when we use a matic, or when we use a manual car. It means that we need to make ourselves to be able to drive all those different vehicles. But now when we have only one system, it means that the interface might be the same, and we don't need to change any more vehicle for whatever our right, for whatever our goal. We just use one vehicle, we just use one car, or we just use one system. Okay, so the benefit of using one system, it means that our data also become consistent and it become real time, and so we don't need any worry about the redundant data or inconsistency data. And then in terms of the system architecture, it means that we will have a centralized server whereby the server will be accessed by many users or many departments. And then in terms of the process, it become a consistent, because when we use the integrated system, it means the whole business process need to be linked together. So if previously when we only do the business process automation and business process improvement, so BPA and BPI, okay, the automation and the improvement can be done only for each department, okay, only for the small things on the department we can do that. But when we talk about the business process reengineering, we cannot just say that I only do the BPR for the sales department, or I only can do the BPR for the finance, but the warehouse still the same. No, we cannot do that, because when we talk about the business process reengineering, actually we are talking about the whole business process in the company. So in the first slide, I already explained about the value chain. You know that why the business process is called as a value chain. Chain is the symbol of the chain, because the chain cannot be separated into one another. The chain need to be linked. So that is also the analogy of the business process, that the whole business process cannot be separate. The whole business process needs to be linked together. So when we do the business process reengineering, it means that our focus now is not focus on the sales, focus on the finance or in the each department, but our focus now is from end to end process. So we need to make sure that our process is flowing from one department to another department. So there will be no left department. There will be saying there we cannot say anymore that this department is more important than another department, because uh, the information from one department will be needed by another department. That's why the business process needs to be linked, because the information is not only used by single department but also will be needed by another department. Okay, so in terms of the application, now we only have single application inside the company. Okay, even though sometimes it's possible also, if the company have another connection with other company, so it's mean that we might use another application to link to our company. But when we talk about the application inside the company, so we only have a single application. So now in terms of the cycle time, because I think I already explained before, when we do the BPA, the cycle time is getting faster. When we do the BPI, it's also become more efficient. That's why the cycle time is also getting shorter. And of course, for the business process reengineering, the cycle time is become shorter. And in terms of the time and in terms of the cost reduction, I mean, if the cycle time is reduced, it means that the cost will be reduced as well. Okay, and then the transaction processing also will be faster, because the data already store in one place, so we don't need. So example, like let's say if the finance people wants to give the invoice to the customer, so previously the finance will need to ask to the sales department how much I need to bill the customer, and then where the customer will pay, in which account number, and then will they have any tax on, and everything. So the finance needs to ask again to the sales department. But now, because the data is already stored in the system, in the center system, it means that all the data can be accessed, all the customer data can be accessed not only by the sales department but also can be accessed by the financial department. It means that of course the transaction become faster, right? Because the finance department don't need to ask to the sales department anymore. And then in terms of the financial management, because it's saying that there will be operational improvement for the performance, because by using the ERP system we can do the data more accurate. Of course, when we have the data more accurate, it means we can have the report more accurate, and by using that report, it means that we can make a more accurate decision, of course, also, right? So that's why it's saying that in terms of the financial management, there will be improvement because our data is improving also. Okay, so and then the business process also change into what we call with the best practice here. Call it as a best practice because ERP system, when they develop the system, they already like making a research on what is the efficient business process. So that's why they when we use their business process, they can say that it's already a best practice. So the ERP systems will say that if you want to have a best practice system, so follow my business process. That's what we call it, the best practice. Okay, and then there will be improvement also in the productivity, because we can have a good manufacturing system, we can have a good customer service, we can do a faster order fulfillment and so on. And then there will be easier to the supply chain. It means that when we use the ERP system, because our data internally in the enterprise already integrated, it means that it will be easier also if we want to having a connection with our supplier or our customer. But if let's say our data inside the company is still messy, still in silos, so how we can connect properly with the other company, right? So that's why one of the advantage when we use the ERP system, moreover, if we use the same ERP system, let's say if the company A let's say our company using SAP for ERP system, and then our supplier also use SAP for their system, it will, because we use the same system, of course it's more easier for our company and our supply company to be connected, right? So when our company can be connected easily, so we can have a good communication, we have a good planning, we can have a good collaboration. So if you ever heard about the term VMI, or vendor managed information, whereby the supplier will be able to monitoring the manufacturing stock, actually it needs to be started by having a good ERP. Okay, so basically the ERP will make all the connection become possible to do. And then it's also possible that we can use e-business, because once we already use the ERP, it means our transaction, our data can be moved into electronic easily. So it's possible for us to move our business not using the internet, and can be accessed through from outside the company. So it's not necessary. So when we use the ERP system, it's not necessary anymore that the data only can be accessed inside the company, but by having a ERP system and then we move to the e-business, it means that our data can be accessed from outside the company. And then it's also possible that, let's say we have another branch in different locations, so it's more easier for us to maintain the connectability as well. Okay, and then in terms of the information and the communication, of course it's become more efficient, because all the data is already stored in one place. Okay, so this is the example data maintenance before we use the ERP. If you see here that the data is actually maintained for each department or each functional area. So if you see here, there will be a product, even though it might be the related to the same product name, but it can be stored in a different form of database. The same goes to like the customer. Let's say in the customer service they have data of customer. In the sales they will have another data for customer. In the accounting they also will have another data for customer. It means there will be a redundant data, and because of the redundant, it might possible that the data also become inconsistent. So now when we already have the ERP, so if you see here the data is become neat, it's properly stored in the one centralized database. So it's become a unified, because the data is already integrated, so the data can be consistent. There's no more redundant data, and it can be accessed through the whole organization. So if you see here, the same data now can be stored in one place but can be accessed from many functional departments. Okay, so this is the example, the BPR for the Xerox company. So if previously you see here, there will be a start from request for the engineering action. There will be a request for some changes. So the person here needs to check the changes, what is the changes needed and everything. And meanwhile another department also needs to check, but from another perspective or another data. So basically they are working on the same things, even though it's different purpose. So one is checking the requirement, one is checking in the design. So after both of them finishing their work, then the data will be sent out to another department and goes to another department and goes to another department. So it's like the information is to be moved from one person from one department to another department. But now after we use the BPR, so the whole data is actually will be stored into one system, into one server, whereby that now the data, we don't need to move one data to another department. So basically what you need, just make the changes in the system, and then another department can see what is the changes, and then they also can approve whether the changes is let's say possible to do or not, or the changes is feasible or not. So they just approve or reject, and they can just communicate easily. They don't need to move from their place. Okay, so and the data also will not redundant, the data will not be inconsistent, because everything will be stored in the one place. So this is some of example of the case study in some companies, what happened before and after they do the re-engineering process. So there will be like the fewer inconsistencies, the decision making become faster, and then there's no more bottleneck process, there's no more delays, the product become faster to be developed and so on. better inventory management. So this one is actually what happened in the Walmart. So after they have the ERP system, they have the better inventory management. That's why Walmart become the first company who implement the vendor managed information, right? So by having an ERP system, the Walmart can connect to the supplier easier, because one of the example of the supplier from Walmart is P&G, Procter and Gamble, whereby P&G also using the ERP system. So because both of them using the ERP system, so that's why it's also easier for them to be connected, to be able to have a good communication and collaboration. Okay, and also like the HP, because they having the ERP system, so in terms of the communication things, it's become a cost saving for the communication when they need to do the negotiation with the customer or with the supplier. It's easier for them to communicate because they're using the ERP system. Okay, you may find another like example, so please find out of the example company that they're using the ERP. Okay, so you can find the company, whether it's a local company or you can use a global company. And actually nowadays is actually when we talk about the ERP system, I think most of the companies already use. So actually it's not really difficult to find one of the company. Okay, so please find out the company and what is the ERP system that they use and what happened before and after they use the ERP. Okay. Okay, this is another example of when they do the BPR. So if you see here for the company BAI, previously they have 64 activities. Can you imagine? They have 64 process, and now they only have 25 activities. It means that they cut down like almost 35%. Okay. Oh no, it's even more than 50%, right? Because from 64 become 25, so it's more than 50% reduced. And previously, if they need to communicate, they need to use 9 forms, and now they only need to use 2 forms, which is so much easier, right? Can you imagine that if you need to go to one to arrange something? I still remember when I want to arrange my marriage registration. So because previously I was registered in Cikarang, right? So then I need to marriage in Bandung, so that's why I need to move. So I need like so-called farewell to my old area in Cikarang, and then I need to move it to Bandung. So it's like filling a form, the same form again and again, because you need to go to RT and fill up this form. And then when you go to the desa, okay, you need to go to fill up another form which is quite the same. And then when you go to the kabupaten and kecamatan first, and then it's also you need to fill form again which is the same. You go to kabupaten and then you need to fill form again, the same again, right? And then you need to move to Bandung and then you need to fill up the same form again. It's just like can you imagine if we fill up in in one application, actually what they need to do, they just need to retrieve the data from the system, and so the customer is become easier, right? So because they don't need to fill up the form again and again. So that's one of the example when we do the BPR, when we use the ERP system. Okay, so now how to do it is we need to be able to do the process modeling. Actually, I assume you are already expert on doing the process modeling because previously you already learned about the analysis and design of the process, right? You already know how when you want to make a system or on software, then you need to do the business process analysis, whereby you need to modeling the process, right? So I assume you are already expert of it. So if you still remember that there will be a organizational unit, it will be or sometimes we can call it as an actor, or sometimes we call it as a functional area, or as a department. Okay, that is the organizational unit. And then there will be a business process or the process, and that will be symbol with this this is the starting point, or because this is using the BPMN, business process modeling notation. So the starting point is showing by this notation is the rectangle, but with the different corner. So this is the notation for the activity or the process. Okay, so it will be a rectangle. So if you still remember, if we use the flowchart, when we want to model the manual business process, it will be shown with the notation of reverse trapezoid, right? But when we want to model an automatic system, then we can use the symbol, the rectangle symbol. Okay, then we can modeling the data store. Okay, the data store can be symbolized with this notation. Okay, I forgot to explain this. So this is the symbol. The diamond is the symbol of decision. If let's say you want to make a branch activity, whether when you need to choose it's a yes or no, or activity A or activity B. So basically when you have a decision point, then you need to use this diamond. And then there is a data store symbol, and this one is when you do the symbol for document. If you want to say that this process will issue what document, so you can use the symbol. And this is actually symbol if you want to say that there is a delay when we do this process, so you can put the symbol. And this is the inspection. It's meant that when you do the checking and everything. And this is the next activity. So when you have a movement activity, when you need to move from one process to another process. Okay, so this is the example of process modeling. So this is what I say, that the process modeling, it means that you need to make into notation. So from the explanation like this, from the word explanation, and then you draw it into the notation. Okay, so this this one is actually will be, I mean, if you see here, there are some statements that actually will be gathering during the user requirement session, right? So we can interview our user and asking what is the process, so they will telling us what is the process, what is the requirement, and so on and so on. I believe you already know that the process in when we learn about the analysis and design. So if you see here, is actually I already make the statement line by line for us to easier reading. But actually when we talk with the user, when user talking, it's sometimes they are talking, when they explain, they might explain using their language, and they are explaining in verbal, but it means from that verbal explanation, then you have to make into a writing explanation. Okay, so that will be one skill. Okay, the first skill is to move from verbal explanation become a writing explanation, right? And then another skill is from the written explanation. From the written, you change into a notation in order for us to easy to understand it. So later you can read on this statement. Okay, you can read what is the process going on, and then by using this process, then it will be it will be drawn into this process modeling using the notation. Okay, so later on we will discuss on this. So please read on the process description in the previous slide, and then how it will be changed into the notation. Okay, so later on, your task is to draw the business process for your project for the company into this notation. Okay, that's all for today's topic. I hope you remember that the business process analysis is one of the fundamental things that you need to have it as a skill if you want to be a good consultant. Okay, so I hope you can learn something today, and let's move to discussion. Thank you.